The buzzing was soft, but insistent. Not the kind that startles you. The kind that creeps into a quiet room and waits to be noticed. I was standing at the sink, scraping at a stubborn bit of dried oatmeal on the side of a bowl when it started vibrating across the kitchen counter. My phone. Face down. No ringtone, just that faint hum against the wood, like an insect trapped in glass. I let it buzz twice before wiping my hands on the front of my sweatpants. Didn't even bother with the towel hanging 2 feet away. Just one of those days. It was a Friday, early, maybe 6:30. My son Logan was still asleep upstairs, and the school drop-off line didn't start moving until 8. The sky outside was still that soft blue-gray that makes you second-guess if it's morning or not. I flipped the phone over. No number saved, just potential spam underneath a 503 area code. Portland. I almost put it back down. Almost. But something about that area code hit me harder than it should have. 10 years ago, that number would have meant something. Back then, Portland was the place Nate said he'd found himself. "The city's got soul," he told me once over cheap beers during our senior year. "It's weird in all the right ways." He was smiling when he said it, legs kicked up on my dorm bed, the TV playing reruns of Scrubs behind us. I remember, because he always claimed Dr. Cox reminded him of his dad. I answered the call without thinking. "Hello?" There was a pause. Not the kind you get with robocalls either. This one had breath in it. "Hey, is this Matt?" That voice. I hadn't heard it in 10 years, but my brain snapped to it like muscle memory. "Nate?" Another pause. "Yeah, man. Hey, it's been a while." The thing you have to understand is this. Nate wasn't just my friend. He was my person. My best man without ever having stood in a tux. My brother by every metric except blood. We met the second week of freshman year at Arizona State. Both late to Psych 101, both out of breath, both swearing at ourselves under our breath as we ducked into the back row. We cracked the same joke to the girl sitting between us about how this class probably wouldn't help either of us understand our exes. She rolled her eyes, moved 3 seats down, and we laughed, like we'd known each other since middle school. It was like that, effortless. We roomed together sophomore year, did a road trip through Utah junior summer, got drunk and cried about our dads one night senior spring. He even helped me draft the email I sent to Alicia when I finally asked her out, and then he vanished, not like a slow fade. Not the kind of growing distance you blame on adulting or time zones. I mean gone. Graduation hit, and a month later, his number was out of service. His socials went dark. He never replied to the emails I sent or the birthday message I posted that year out of habit. I tried harder than I'll ever admit to track him down, and I hated myself for how long I waited. Back on the phone, I didn't say anything right away. He coughed lightly. "I wasn't sure this number would still work. I tried your old one first. Guess you changed it." "Yeah," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "After the divorce." "Shit, man. I didn't know." "Not like you were around to." The words came out faster than I meant. He was quiet again. Not frozen, just letting it land. I could feel my heart hammering a little harder. My left hand gripped the edge of the counter. "I deserve that," he said finally. "I really do." "You think?" "I want to explain, if you'll let me." I didn't answer. Instead, I moved toward the living room, where the light was softer, and sat down on the edge of the couch. My slippers made that faint squeak against the old hardwood. "I'll listen," I said. But I didn't promise I'd care. Nate started to talk. He told me he moved to Portland right after school ended, like he always said he would. Said he got a studio gig there, audio engineering for small indie labels. Said it started picking up faster than he expected. Crazy hours, non-stop projects, a boss who didn't believe in time off. At first, he said he was trying to stay in touch, but things got away from him. I let him ramble for 3 minutes before I cut in. No offense, man, but everyone gets busy. You ghosted for a decade. He exhaled. I know. Do you? Because I had a kid. I got married, then divorced. You missed all of it. I know. You left without saying goodbye. I know. I waited. He said nothing. Nate, I said, what the hell is this about? There was that breath again, a pause laced with nerves. I need a favor, he said. I didn't say anything. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious, but I need help, Matt. Help how? He hesitated again. Then he said it. Plain, quiet. I need a kidney. That's the moment everything slowed down. Like the second after a car backfires and you're not sure if it's gunfire or just noise. I stared at the muted TV. The screen was frozen on some local news channel with a traffic map lit up in red. I watched the little arrows blink while my brain caught up. A kidney, I repeated. Yeah? You ghosted me for 10 years. I know. And now you want a piece of my body? Nate let out a breath. Not like that. I didn't come to you first. I've already been through the list. My mom's not a match. Neither is my sister. I've got a condition called FSGS, hard to find matches for. I've been on the transplant list for a year. It's getting worse. And you thought, hey, remember that guy I ditched a decade ago? He might save my life? I didn't think you would, but I had to ask. There are moments you think you'll handle with dignity, then they arrive, and you're just raw. I stood up, pacing now. Do you even know what my blood type is? B positive, he said quietly, same as mine. That hit me harder than I expected. He remembered. From that one time we gave blood together for extra credit. Freshman spring. I'm not saying you owe me, he said. I know I screwed up. Bad. I'm trying not to die. And I've never stopped thinking about how I left things. My throat was dry. Why'd you ghost? I asked finally. He didn't answer right away. You really want to know? Yes. I was ashamed. Of what? He took a breath. I slept with Alicia right before you proposed. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of glass breaking. I felt my stomach twist. Not from anger, at least not yet. From confusion. From the sound of something I'd buried so deep I forgot it had roots. What? One time, after a fight you two had, it was a mistake. I left town because I couldn't look you in the eye after. He went quiet again. I figured losing me was better than finding out. I was wrong. I walked back into the kitchen. The bowl was still in the sink. Cold water now sitting halfway up the side. I stared at it like it would give me an answer. So now I'm supposed to save your life? I asked. I didn't come for that. I came to be honest. And yeah, maybe I hoped you'd still care enough to consider it. I didn't say anything. He spoke again. I'm in town for a few days. I'll send my number. You don't have to reply. And just like that, the line went dead. I stood there for a long time. Just the quiet of a house before a school morning, the hum of the fridge, the gurgle of the pipes upstairs as Logan stirred. Then came the chime of a new message. A number. No name, just, if you want to talk, no pressure. I stared at it. My hands were wet again. I hadn't even noticed they were shaking. I didn't text back. Not that day. Not the next. I watched Logan eat his Honey Nut Cheerios that Friday morning like it was any other school day. But my mind wasn't in the room. It was back in my old dorm. Back in that living room couch where Nate used to crash with a blanket he always claimed smelled like old cafeteria pizza. It was in that tiny apartment Alicia and I shared after graduation, where she started taking longer showers and answering texts with 3 dots and nothing more. I don't know what I expected. Not that. Not that. The worst part wasn't what Nate said. It was how much sense it made. Like I'd always known something was off. Like I'd buried a question so deep I forgot I'd ever asked it. Back when Alicia said yes to my proposal, she cried. Not happy tears. The kind that looked like guilt dressed in tulle and roses. I chalked it up to nerves, to emotion, to the moment. But now I couldn't stop replaying it. Saturday came and went. I took Logan to his soccer scrimmage, helped him tape a poster for his school project, picked up groceries, ignored the blinking notification icon on my phone. It wasn't until Sunday afternoon, when he went to his mom's for the week, that I let myself sit down with the weight of it. The number was still there, unread. I didn't know what I wanted. Closure? Revenge? Maybe just to understand. I typed out, "Where are you staying?" Then I deleted it, typed again. I don't know why I'm even responding. Deleted that too. Finally, I sent, "Coffee. Tuesday, 6, Hillview Diner. Short, cold, unmistakable." His reply came 30 seconds later. "I'll be there." Tuesday was rainy. Not dramatic rain. Just the kind that makes the streets smell like old dust and car oil. I parked across from the Hillview Diner at 5:52. Sat in the car with the engine running for 6 minutes. Thought about driving off twice. Didn't. When I walked in, he was already there. Back booth, hoodie, ball cap. Coffee in hand, untouched. Nate looked older. Not bad, just worn. Like someone who'd stopped sleeping well years ago. His eyes found mine the second I stepped in. He didn't smile, just nodded. I slid into the booth across from him. The vinyl stuck slightly to my jacket from the humidity. Neither of us spoke for a few beats. Then he said, "Thanks for coming." I stared at him. "You look like shit," I said. He laughed. A quiet, tired chuckle. "That's fair." I looked down at his hands, still drumming his fingers on the side of the mug. He used to do that when he lied. He didn't notice he was doing it now. "Why now?" I asked. He knew what I meant. "I've been sick for 3 years. Diagnosed 2 years ago. Got serious in the last 8 months. Started dialysis last fall. I've gone through the list, tried other donors. I've been on the transplant registry. Nothing." "You could have reached out earlier." "I know. So why didn't you?" He looked down, then back at me. "Because I didn't want my first contact with you in a decade to be this. I kept telling myself I'd write a letter, send an email, do something right, but every year it got harder, and then it got urgent." I watched him. "You think you deserve a kidney from me?" He shook his head. "No, I don't." "Then why ask?" "Because you were the only good thing I had in college, and I destroyed it." I blinked. "And because," he added, "even after everything, I still trust you more than anyone I know." We sat in silence. The diner played Fleetwood Mac through the overhead speakers. The waitress brought me coffee. I didn't touch it. "I didn't plan to sleep with her," he said suddenly. I didn't stop him. "She called me after a fight. Said you'd canceled your weekend plans. Said she just needed to talk. One drink, then another, then..." He paused. "We were both so stupid." "Why didn't she ever tell me?" I asked. He looked at me like I'd just asked why the sun sets. "Because she loved you. Because she wanted to forget it happened. Because she was afraid you'd leave." Maybe I should have. Maybe, but you didn't. And she stayed, married you, had your kid. I clenched my jaw. He saw it, held his breath, waited. When the waitress came back to top off our mugs, We both nodded in sync like two actors in a play we didn't rehearse. I spoke first this time. If I say no, what happens? I stay on the list, wait for a miracle, or I don't. And if I say yes, you get to hate me up close. But maybe it makes something right, even a little. You don't get to fix this with guilt. I'm not. You are. You think honesty is some moral currency, like telling the truth buys back time. He didn't argue. I looked out the window. Across the street, someone was dragging a rolling backpack through a puddle, umbrella turning inside out with the wind. It felt like a metaphor, but I was too tired to chase it. I don't forgive you, I said. I don't expect you to. I don't even know if I believe you. He nodded slowly. That's fair. I'm not saying yes. I know. But I'm not saying no either. He blinked. I need time, I said. And I need you to do something for me. Anything. I looked at him. Go see Alicia. He froze. I haven't spoken to her in 10 years, he said. Then it's time. She's the one who should have told me. You both owe me that. She won't want to see me. Not your choice. She's back in Tempe, lives 2 blocks from her sister. I'll text you the address. He didn't say anything for a while. Then he said, all right. We sat for 10 more minutes. Neither of us finished our coffee. When I stood to leave, he did too. I didn't offer a hug. As I walked out, he said, Matt. I turned. I really am sorry. I nodded, but I didn't say I believed him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling fan, listening to Logan's white noise machine hum from upstairs. I thought about loyalty and love and the strange, selfish math of friendship. I thought about how something could be both a betrayal and a cry for help at the same time. I thought about my own silence, how easy it had been to move on without closure, how maybe I hadn't moved on at all. And I thought about kidneys, how stupid it is that the thing he needed most, after all this time, was something I could actually give. But maybe shouldn't. Picking up directly after part 2, no recaps, no jumps, slow burn continues. Part 3, some debts never collect. I don't know what I thought would happen. Maybe I imagined some kind of resolution, that he'd show up on Alicia's porch. They'd hash it out. I'd get a call that made everything suddenly cleaner. But the truth is, real people don't fit inside endings like that. They just try. It was Thursday when I got her text. Just 3 words. He showed up. No punctuation, no follow-up. I stared at it for a full minute before replying. You okay? Another pause. Then, we talked. I'm not sure what that means yet. I hadn't seen Alicia face-to-face in almost 4 months. Co-parenting had fallen into a rhythm. Sunday night handoffs, alternating holidays, the occasional text about school pickup or dentist appointments. We'd been civil since the divorce. But civil is just a kind of silence, too. I didn't call her. I didn't press. Instead, I let it breathe. But something about that text left a hole in my chest. Not grief, not even jealousy. Just that old, familiar ache. I still don't know the whole truth. The following week, Nate messaged again. Can I see you? I didn't answer right away. Logan had a parent-teacher meeting the next day. I had 2 HVAC units to service for the school district. My bathroom sink was leaking again. Life didn't stop just because someone asked you for an organ. Still, that night I texted back. Tomorrow. After work. At the park. He didn't reply with words, just a thumbs up emoji. I hated how casual it felt. How easy. Friday afternoon, I parked at the south end of Pioneer Park and waited under the rusted green picnic canopy. The one where kids' birthday parties usually happen. It smelled faintly of sunscreen and dried soda. He arrived 15 minutes late. Looked thinner, sweat on his collar, carrying a plastic bag. "Didn't know if you'd be hungry," he said, holding it up. Inside were 2 soft tacos from Rudy's, still warm. I didn't say thank you, but I didn't reject them either. We sat across from each other. The breeze caught the napkins once, sent them tumbling toward the grass. He chased one down with more effort than necessary. "You talked to her," he said. I said. He nodded, slow. "Yeah." "How'd it go?" He let out a breath. "Hard, but good, I think." "Did she scream?" "No, she cried, then talked, then cried again." I didn't say anything. "She didn't lie to you, Matt," he added. "Not exactly. She just left that piece out." I swallowed a bite, chewed slower than normal. "She said she wanted to forget it happened, that it felt like a line she crossed and couldn't uncross, so the only option left was pretending it didn't exist." "That's not forgetting," I said. "That's convenience." He nodded. "Yeah." I looked at him. "You're still asking me to save you?" "No," he said. "Not today. Today I'm just sitting with you." For a long time we didn't talk. Kids ran past us with sticky hands. A dad yelled at a toddler near the swings. Someone nearby was vaping, sweet-smelling, artificial mango in the air. Then Nate reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out a folded envelope. "What's that?" "Just something I wrote," he said. "Don't have to read it now." I took it, but didn't open it. "I'll leave it here," I said, tucking it into my glove box as we walked back to the cars. That night, after Logan went to sleep, I opened the envelope. No letterhead, just lined notebook paper, torn on one side. The handwriting hadn't changed. Slanted, lowercase, leftward curl on every G. Matt. There's no version of this where I come out clean. I know that. You were the closest thing I had to a brother. When I left, I was running. From shame, from guilt, from the truth that I didn't deserve your friendship. I thought disappearing would be less cruel than telling you. But disappearing is a kind of cruelty too. I've watched my body fail me these last few years. And in that slow decay, I started realizing how many good things I threw away just because I didn't want to feel bad. I don't want your kidney if it means stealing something else from you. I'm not asking you to fix my mistake. But if there's still a piece of you that remembers the nights we stayed up talking about everything and nothing, the piece that believes in people even when they screw up, I just want you to know, I'm sorry. I mean it. Nate. I didn't cry, but I did sit on the floor for a while with that letter in my lap, Logan's baby monitor hissing quietly on the coffee table. Sometimes sorry lands like a slap. Sometimes it just floats. This one landed somewhere in between. 2 days later, I went to get tested. I didn't tell him. Didn't tell Alicia either. It was a quiet appointment. Clean, fluorescent-lit clinic. A nurse with pink scrubs and a tired smile. A form asking if I'd been exposed to tuberculosis or visited sub-Saharan Africa recently. I gave the blood, sat through the questionnaire, waited for the call. It came 4 days later. I was a match. I called him. "Hey," he said, answering fast. "I got tested." There was silence. "Matt, I'm a match." His breath hitched. I could hear it. "Jesus." "Don't say anything yet," I cut in. "I'm not agreeing. I'm just thinking." "Of course. I don't know if I can do it, Nate." "I understand." "You don't." "I want to," he said, "but no, I probably don't." There was a long pause. I finally asked, "Are you scared?" He didn't answer for a while. Then he whispered, "Terrified." That night I dreamed of college. A night where we were both drunk, sitting on the roof of our building, talking about what we'd do at 30. He said he wanted to own a little music shop. I said I just wanted to be a good dad someday. We made dumb bets. Said we'd be best men at each other's weddings. Said we'd name our kids after sci-fi characters. None of it happened like that. But I still remembered the laugh. Still remembered how it felt to believe in someone. The transplant coordinator called me the following Tuesday. Said we'd need to schedule a psych evaluation, then a surgical consult. I didn't confirm. I didn't cancel. I just let the silence hang between us. Take your time, she said gently. There's no pressure, but he doesn't have much time. I thanked her, hung up. That weekend, I sat down with Logan. Hey, bud, I said. Can I ask you something kind of weird? He looked up from his Legos. Is it about the ghost raccoon again? I laughed. No, not this time. Okay. If someone hurt you a long time ago, but then said they were really, really sorry, would you forgive them? He blinked, thought about it. Was it an accident? No, I said. They knew they were doing something bad. He shrugged. Then I'd probably say no. I nodded. He paused. But if they were really, really sick, maybe I'd help anyway, if they didn't have anybody else. I ruffled his hair. He went back to building. Sometimes kids know more than they realize. That night, I called the transplant coordinator back. Let's schedule the consult, I said. I heard her tap the keyboard. Okay, you sure? No. But you're saying yes? Yeah, I'm saying yes. I didn't call Nate. Didn't need to. Some things speak for themselves. The thing no one tells you about donating a kidney is how quiet the process is, not the surgery. That part's loud, machines beeping, overhead lights humming, the slap of rubber gloves and the squeak of hospital shoes on vinyl. But the decision? It's like dropping a pebble into a pond and realizing the ripples hit places you didn't know were connected. The psych evaluation was first. They ask you 100 questions. Do you feel pressured? Do you believe this person is manipulating you? Are you doing this out of guilt, obligation, revenge, unresolved trauma? I answered honestly. I'm doing this because I can. Pause. And because I haven't closed the door on who we used to be. That wasn't quite forgiveness, but maybe it was something close. I didn't tell many people. Just my sister Abby. We're not super close. Different cities, different lives, but she's always been my emergency contact. You're what? She said over the phone. I'm donating a kidney. To Nate? Yeah. The pause said everything. You mean the guy who vanished for a decade and then confessed he slept with your wife? Yep. You... Matt, Jesus. I know. What the hell are you doing? I didn't answer. After a second, she sighed. Okay, fine. I won't talk you out of it. But you're putting me down as backup for Logan if something goes wrong, yeah? Already did. Good, she said. Because if you die trying to save someone who burned your whole life down, I swear to God, I'll haunt both of you. It was the closest thing to support I was going to get. Surgery was scheduled for the first Monday in June. St. Catherine's Medical Center, 6th floor transplant wing. We were both admitted the day before. Nate had a private room down the hall from mine. We didn't see each other that night. He didn't ask to. Part of me was glad. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't have the emotional bandwidth to carry both of us through it. That night, I video called Logan. You still doing the surgery? He asked. He was eating a PB&J. I could see crumbs stuck to the iPad case. Yeah, bud. You scared? I hesitated. A little. Will it hurt? Probably. He thought about that. Can I bring you the Spider-Man blanket after? That almost broke me. Yeah, I said. That'd be awesome. Morning came early. 5:30 pre-op call. I was groggy, fasting, and vaguely aware of a nurse named Jamie checking my wristband 3 times, like I might have swapped identities overnight. The anesthesiologist came in and explained the risks. Bleeding, infection, chronic fatigue, regret. Have people ever backed out last minute? I asked. He nodded. Sure, it happens. I didn't. I don't remember the moment I went under, just the sound of the IV pump and the cool burn of the anesthetic traveling up my arm like a slow match being lit. Then blackness. I woke up to pain, not unbearable, but deep, like someone had reached into my side and carved out a piece of something ancient. There was a tube in my arm, a dull beep somewhere. My throat felt raw, my mind fuzzy. A nurse was standing by the monitor typing. "You're in recovery," she said gently. "Surgery went well." I blinked, swallowed. "How's Nate?" "He's stable. Everything's looking good so far." I closed my eyes, let that word hang in my chest for a while. Good. They moved me to a shared room the next morning. Nate had already been transferred down the hall. I got flowers from Logan's school. A crayon drawing of me as Super Kidney Dad, complete with cape and mask. I laughed until it hurt. Then I cried for 20 minutes straight. On the third day, Nate came to visit. He was walking slow, IV pole dragging behind him, hospital gown half-tied. He looked pale and grateful and small all at once. He stood at the door. "Can I come in?" I nodded. He pulled a chair close and sat down carefully. Neither of us spoke for a full minute. Then I said, "How's the pain?" "Better than yesterday. Still feels like someone rearranged my ribs." I nodded. "That's normal." He looked at me. "You saved my life." "I know." He shifted. "I don't know how to live with that." "Then learn, I said. "Because I have to live with what you did. So now we're both carrying something." He didn't argue. Instead, he reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled something out. It was the old photo, us at age 21, sitting on top of the dorm roof, beer cans scattered, arms slung over each other's shoulders. He slid it across the tray table. I kept it all these years. I picked it up. There we were, frozen in a moment before anything had broken. It hurt to look at, but I didn't turn away. Recovery took time. 6 weeks of limited movement, no lifting, no running, no stress, which is a joke when you're a single dad with a part-time side hustle and a leaky water heater. But I managed. Nate stayed in town during that time, rented a short-term place 2 blocks from the clinic. He didn't hover, didn't text too much. He came by once with groceries and left them on the porch with a note that said, "Just beans. No betrayal this time." I rolled my eyes, but I smiled. One Saturday, I invited him in. We sat on the back patio while Logan played with his remote control car. "You're good with him," Nate said. I shrugged. "Trying?" "No, you're solid. The kind of dad we used to talk about being." I sipped my soda. "You ever think about having kids?" I asked. He smiled faintly. "I did, once, but I think I blew through most of the people who'd want to raise one with me." "You got time." "Maybe." He looked up. "You think I'm different now?" I didn't answer immediately. Then I said, "You're trying. That's more than I expected." He nodded. We watched the car spin into the fence. 2 weeks later, Nate left town. He was heading back to Portland to try and rebuild what he'd abandoned. He hugged Logan, shook my hand. Then, at the curb, he said something I didn't expect. "If you ever need anything, Matt, even if you hate me again someday, call." I nodded. "Take care of that kidney," I said. "Used to like tacos and sarcasm." He laughed. "I'll do my best." Then he was gone. I don't know if we'll be friends again, not in the way we were, but I know this. Sometimes the person who breaks you is the only one who understands what that crack really means. And sometimes giving up a piece of yourself isn't about healing them. It's about letting you grow back different. Summer ended the way most Arizona summers do. Slow, hot, indifferent. School started back up in August. Logan moved up to 4th grade. I took a full-time maintenance position at the district, steadier hours, more benefits. I stopped waking up with pain in my side by mid-September. The scar was still there, though, low and clean, faded pink, not big enough to change how I looked in the mirror, just enough to change how I saw myself. Nate sent a postcard from Portland, just a photo of the Burnside Bridge, postmarked 2 weeks after he left. No message, just still here, still trying. N. I stuck it on the fridge with Logan's soccer schedule. I didn't reply, not out of anger, but because I wasn't ready to turn that page yet. Some friendships don't come back the way they were. Some don't come back at all. Others just keep echoing. 3 months passed, then 4. In November, I got a call from Alicia. Unexpected. Not about Logan. "Can we meet?" she asked. We sat outside a Panera near campus. She wore a denim jacket, no makeup, hair tied back in a lazy bun. She looked like the version of her I knew back when we shared frozen pizza and a futon. "I saw Nate," she said. I figured. We talked a long time. "Did it help?" She nodded. "Some." Then her eyes met mine. "I never told you how much that moment, what I did, haunted me." I didn't say anything. I made it worse by pretending it wasn't real, but it was, and it changed everything. "Yeah," I said, "it did." She looked down, twisted the lid of her coffee cup. "I heard you gave him your kidney." I did. "Why?" I looked at her. "Because he was dying, and because I needed to know I could still be the kind of person I thought I was, even if neither of you were." Her eyes softened, glossed. "I'm sorry. I know." We sat there for a while. No grand reconciliation, no reopening of old doors, just two people who used to share everything, finally facing what they left behind. When we parted, we hugged. It wasn't warm, but it wasn't cold either. Thanksgiving came, then Christmas. Logan spent the holidays with me that year. We made stuffing from a box and burnt 1 tray of cookies. He got a used skateboard and told me I was officially not lame. That night, I pulled the photo from the drawer, the one Nate had brought to the hospital. Us on that rooftop. 21, sunburned, stupid, happy. I stared at it for a long time. Then I tucked it back away. Not because I didn't want it, but because I didn't need it to remember anymore. The following spring, a letter came in the mail. Handwritten, plain envelope, Oregon return address. Inside: "Matt, I had a follow-up today. Kidney's doing great. You saved my life. But more than that, you reminded me how to show up. For real. I've started therapy. I've reached out to my sister again. I even joined a volunteer group that plays music at hospitals. None of this erases what I did, but maybe it builds something new. I'll never be the friend you deserved, but I'm trying to be the man you believed I could be. I hope that matters. Thank you." Nate. I didn't write back. Not because I didn't want to, but because I realized that sometimes the best version of closure isn't dramatic. It's not a courtroom scene or a reunion on a rainy day. Sometimes it's just letting the past become part of you. Not all of you. Every once in a while, Logan asks if I still talk to Nate. I tell him, not really. He always looks a little confused. "But you saved his life." "Yeah," I say. "That doesn't mean we have to be best friends again." "Do you miss him?" I think about that. I miss who we used to be, not who we are now. That usually satisfies him. But me, I'm still learning how to live with both. The truth is, I don't regret the surgery. I don't regret giving him a second chance, but I also don't regret walking away afterward. Because sometimes forgiveness isn't about forgetting or reuniting. It's about choosing who you want to be when no one else is watching. And I chose to be someone who shows up, even when it hurts, even when it's complicated, even when it's for someone who didn't show up for me. That scar on my side, it reminds me that you can lose something and still come out more whole than you were before. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.